Ladies and gentlemen, the Nets are going international for preseason games number 2 and 3. They are in China for tomorrow morning's bright and early game. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Brooklyn Boys Show. I am your host, Josh Williver, excited to talk all things Brooklyn Nets with you tonight and give you guys a little bit of a preview ahead of preseason game number 2. Was gone a little bit earlier this week. Yankees playoff run that, if you watch baseball, know came to a heartbreaking end with a loss to the Toronto Blue Jays. But I can rant a lot about that. That's not what we're here for, though. We are here to talk Brooklyn Nets basketball because when one team goes, somebody's always next to come up. That's how it goes in sports. The Jet season is basically over. The Yankees playoff run is over. Rangers just started, but now it is time to turn and flip the page over to basketball because Brooklyn Nets basketball is oh so close to being back 2 weeks from Wednesday, people. 2 weeks from Wednesday. But for now, let's stay grounded where we are. Now, don't look too far ahead. Just look about 9 hours and 5 minutes ahead, to be exact. 8 a.m. Eastern time is the tip-off to the NBA China game between the Suns and the Nets. Now, there is a ton to break down between the Nets getting a new rookie back into the rotation, most likely. We'll break down minutes play and how Jordi Fernandez managed that lineup and so much more. But on your way into the building, make sure you smash that like button. Hit subscribe. It helps us grow a ton on this channel. We are so close to 500 subscribers. So if you could help us out, hit that subscribe button if you're tuning in here live. Smash like, more importantly. Throw questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. Claude Smith's in the house. As always, appreciate you tuning in, my friend. You are the best. Appreciate the rest of you guys in the chat. So throw questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. We will get to those in just a few moments. And as always, we would like to interact with the community as much as we can. So that is how you can get your thoughts out there. We'll start with an injury report and a little bit of breaking news coming from Nets beat reporter for the New York Post, Brian Lewis, on Twitter. He said Yegor Gielman with his plantar fascia tear and Haywood Highsmith, a knee injury, are the only two Nets listed as out for tomorrow's preseason tilt versus the Suns in Macao, China. That could mean the debut of first-round pick Drake Powell, who missed both the Summer League and the preseason opener with the knee tendinopathy. I'm not a medical expert. Don't flame me for that. But his knee injury kept him sidelined all throughout the summer. And now, baby, it is time, most likely, barring any game time decision, because he is not on the injury report for the Nets. So barring any last-minute changes to his health, we should get to see Drake Powell, the 22nd overall pick, acquired from that trade with the Atlanta Hawks as part of the Terrence Mann deal, play his first game in a Brooklyn Net uniform. And boy, am I excited. I am gonna love that defense. I think it's gonna slot right in with what Jordi Fernandez tries to do offensively. I am going to love that effort that he showed in his college days at UNC as a Tar Heel. And I think if he develops a three-point shot, I've been saying it all summer, he is a guy that could play a big role with the Nets for a long time. Not the flashiest name of the bunch for the Nets this draft, but certainly is going to be a key contributor for this team this year and in many years to come. So super excited for Drake Powell. Super excited to see what he can do defensively, offensively, all around, and honestly, who he plays with. That's going to be something that's just as interesting. We'll get into the starting five, the likely starting five. It wasn't officially announced by the Nets beat reporters because, well, it is 12 hours ahead in China right now. So Brian Lewis and the beat reporters traveling with the team right now. It is currently 9 a.m., so they were not tweeting anything overnight, which is our midday here on the East Coast. They were not tweeting anything about lineups and such, because so were the Nets PR team and the media team also with the team. So we will likely get that information later tonight here on the East Coast and early morning if you are in China, which probably you aren't if you're listening to this, but I don't know. Maybe you're a dedicated Nets fan and you wanted to check out Macao, China and see the Nets while you were there. Again, starting five hasn't been posted, but you got to assume it looks a little bit like preseason game number one. I'd like to see the starters in there. Most of them played all the way up to that 20-minute threshold. Not sure that's what we're going to see today. Maybe you're looking at 15 or so for some of these guys, but I think Ben Saraf continues to run the point. He should be good to do that while Yegor Gielman continues to be out with that plantar fascia tear. He should be on track to play in the regular season opener, though there's no confirmation there. Haywood Highsmith is likely going to be a little bit longer. That's your injury report. Yegor Gielman, Haywood Highsmith, two guys we knew coming into this game we're not going to be playing, but the surpriser, and in the best way possible, the surprising factor, Drake Powell, baby, going to play his first game as a Brooklyn Net. Excited for him. Excited for the team to see that, but it's not just a one-man show. There are guys playing with roster spots on the line. We get into that. So much more right here on the show. Smash like and hit subscribe if you're in the house. Throw questions, comments, thoughts. They go in the chat. Follow the Instagram. Shout out you guys. Just within this past week or so, we've gained 20 plus subscribers on the IG. Crossed that 100 follower threshold. It's not a ton, but we're taking baby steps. Hoping to get to 1,000 sometime in the near future. Instagram changed up their rules. You can only do live streams at 1,000 followers. So we are trying our hardest to push out the word about the IG. Head over there if you haven't yet. I think we're at 105, 104 followers last time I checked. Follow it, _Brooklyn Boys. I'll throw that in the chat for you all listening in live. _Brooklyn Boys. No spaces, no capitals. Hit us a follow there. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you got. Follow us over there, pushing out the top Nets content. You'll see our first raw reaction video was me at halftime of the Hapoel Jerusalem game, giving you my first half takeaways. I may post a little pregame something in the morning before I head off to school. Again, it's an 8 a.m. tip-off, so that's going to be tough. I have to wake up at 6:30 for school, so I will be up bright and early, but 8 a.m. is right around where school starts for me. I do not know how I'm going to watch this game, but we will find a way. We will prevail, I'm sure of it. If you're wondering how you can watch at home on your couch, I got the information for you guys. This game is not on Yes, so you cannot flip to your local listing on Yes. You can't do it by cable. You gotta be part of NBA League Pass, or I'm not advising this, but I suppose you could work around that some way. Smash the like and hit subscribe. Here we go, baby. Second preseason game. Little nighttime preview for the early morning game. And then we will likely have a recap show. Don't hold me to that. Likely have one tomorrow afternoon once I get back from school. Once I'm able to digest the game. Starting five, I'm giving it to you off my head. Again, nothing's been officially announced as it is still the overnight time over in Macao, China. But I'm guessing it's Saraf again to run the point. Hopefully the team was able to clean up a couple of those fouling mistakes. He picked up 5 personals in 12 minutes in game number 1. But other than that, he looked good in my eyes, passing well. And I think the entire starting lineup played with a little bit more mojo and flow and chemistry to themselves, as one would have thought. You had MPJ with a lob, Nick Claxton a couple flushes, MPJ had a 3, so did Cam Thomas, who showed off the footwork. But again, against Hapoel Jerusalem, you take that with a grain of salt. Now you actually get to see the Nets play an NBA-level opponent, albeit in China, but nonetheless, they will play the Phoenix Suns now, and then also Sunday morning. Wake up bright and early on Sunday if you were a New York sports fan. 7 a.m. Nets in China. Make sure you're wide awake for that one. And then at 9:30, my New York Jets play in London against the Denver Broncos. And then if you're a Giants fan, you got them on right now on Thursday night against the Eagles. Let's see, what's the score of that game right now? 13-10 Giants. That's a surprising one. 8:31 to play in the second quarter. The Giants are up 13-10 on the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Who would have guessed? But we're not here for football. We're here for Drake Powell's immediate raw reaction. He will play his first game as a net, but can Ben Surratt control himself? Can Terrence Mann play that well as he did in game number one? Probably not. They probably look to get the rookies and the younger guys in the mix a little earlier, if you ask me. I think Jordy Fernandez was pleasantly pleased, I would say. I wouldn't say surprised because I think he has a high standard for this team, but I would say he was pleased with how his starters played in game number one. So I'm not sure all five of those guys hit close to that 20-minute threshold like you did in game one. And then, expect that same sort of mentality. Expect the Nets to go into it, trying to get everybody involved, trying to get everybody minutes. I'm sure the 20-minute threshold will still be in effect for this coaching staff. Not only is it to be able to get everyone involved, but the last thing you want is somebody getting injured in the second preseason game for the Brooklyn Nets. So this preserves the bodies, keeps them fresh for the beginning of the regular season, and it also gives you time to evaluate some guys on the end of the bench, which is arguably more important in the preseason. You could easily make that argument. It's more about giving the roster spot rather than just getting the guys you already know will be on the team ready. Claxton, he played well in game one. Can the team be a better rebounding squad overall is what I'm looking at from the center spot and maybe a little bit of the power forward spot. You saw the rebounds start to slip away from the Nets when Claxton was off the floor. Day'Ron Sharp, Noah Clowney had a little bit of trouble. And then towards the back end of things as well, you had E.J. Liddell not boxing out at all. And he had, quite frankly, a terrible Nets debut, if we're being brutally honest. But again, you can't judge a guy based on how he played in the first 8 minutes with a team in a preseason game. So I will have some faith. I will give him a break, but then again, he's already locked into a two-way spot. He's not a guy that the Nets are going to say goodbye to just yet, unless, they midway through the season, he's just that bad, but you have to imagine they would just keep him on Long Island at that point. Rotations, again, I expect it to be switched up a little differently. I expect maybe you might even see Powell in the starting lineup, but if you don't, which would make sense, he's coming right off an injury that he missed the entire summer with. He'll probably be on a minutes restriction, probably a little bit stricter, and the Nets will be more adherent to it than the rest of the guys. But if Drake Powell's not 100%, let me be real with you here. Why would you play him? There is no point in putting Drake Powell onto the court to play the Phoenix Suns in the second preseason game if he's not all right. You got two more after this. You have the Suns again in China on Sunday, and then you come back to North America. Not to the U.S., not to Brooklyn, but to North America. You stay out of the country, though. You go to Toronto to play one against the Raptors, and that wraps up the Nets preseason. Can there be fluidity with the starters? Can the rotations play well? I am expecting probably Wilson and probably Martin to play in an elevated role tomorrow morning. These are two guys that truly did, elevate from where my standard was for them heading into the preseason. I thought those are probably my two highest cut candidates. And I'm not going to retract that statement because they played 10 minutes of all right basketball. Again, Martin was 1 for 5 from 3, didn't take a shot inside the 2-point line. And I'll continue to say this. If that's all Tyrese Martin can do and he can't hit at a high, consistent clip, he has no place on this team. Anybody can do what he does. He has to bring something original to this team in order to warrant himself keeping a roster spot in what should be a very competitive stretch for the Nets post-training camp. pre-actual cutdown day, and I think cutdown day is October 22nd. Let me be exact with you there. But final cuts are creeping up nonetheless, and whether these guys make it or not is going to be interesting, but I think arguably more interesting will be, do they get picked up by another team where the Nets just not able to unlock potential? And I got to tell you, I mean, if you can't roster guys on the Brooklyn Nets for the 2025 season, again, I'm just not sure any team can roster them. Official roster set for opening day, October 20th, 5 p.m. So I am guessing that we will have a live reaction video to that on this channel. Stay tuned for that. We will probably be live at 5 p.m. to see the Nets official roster come out for the start of the regular season. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for so much more content. It's the Nets, it's the Suns. Preseason game number 2 preview. What to expect from the Suns? I'm really not sure. They're in like such an awkward spot where they completely botched their version of the big three with Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. So they're kind of in a limbo where they still have Devin Booker and they paid him money to stay, but no Kevin Durant, and they're one of the more injury-prone teams in basketball last year. Unfortunately, to draw a parallel, kind of like the 2021-2022 Brooklyn Nets teams. So they're in an awkward state of limbo. Not sure what their situation is going to look like for this game. But look, we play them twice. Or I should say the Nets play them twice. And we might learn a lot about the Suns' end of the bench. So we may have some big-time intel by November, when the Nets are playing the Suns in an actual meaningful game. I might actually be able to tell you who's on the end of the Suns bench. Smash the like and hit subscribe if you're in the building live. Share this with friends and family. More importantly, throw questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. Claude Early Bird Worm says the game against Hopwell was a scrimmage against the Suns. Is the first preseason game. Claude, if I remember correctly, you picked the Nets to lose that game against Hopwell Jerusalem. I thought there was no way, just because you're talking about NBA talent level, the best 470 or so in the world versus, EuroLeague talent. Claude, appreciate you tuning in regardless, but come on. I knew the Nets were going to blow Hapoel Jerusalem out of the water. Suns should be an actual test, though. This is an actual game where you don't think the Nets are just going to walk into the building and stomp on their opponent. So maybe a different view of the game planning for Jordi Fernandez. Maybe that affects how he distributes minutes, but I kind of doubt it. Because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, preseason is all about the end of the bench, guys. Like and sub if you haven't done so yet. The guy on the cover of this YouTube video had the thumbnail. I put one player on the thumbnail of today's video, and that is Fenbo Zhang, the only Chinese player, I believe, in the league right now. And he happens to be on the Nets playing in the NBA China games. I thought it was interesting that Fenbo Zhang was the only non-injured player to be a coach's DNP. He did not check into the game. The only guy not listed on the injured list to do so, which makes me think that this Nets team wanted to keep his legs fresh for these two in China, both Friday and Sunday. And it makes sense. He's done a ton of stuff already since the Nets have been there with the Chinese community, and he's obviously a big global ambassador for the league. I'm not saying Adam Silver called Jordi Fernandez and threatened punishments should Fenbo Zhang get hurt against Hapoel Jerusalem, but all I'm saying is it wouldn't be pretty for the Chinese fans to see their hometown guy not be able to play in the only two games they're going to get to see all season. So I'm sure they are glad. Hopefully Fenbo Zhang is well rested. Hopefully he can put on a good show in China, in his home country. Let's see how that works out. weekend. We are really sort of unsure whether that Fenbo Zhang decision was Jordi Fernandez thinking, I want to keep this guy fresh. Jordi Fernandez somehow not finding a role for him against Hapoel Jerusalem, which I find a little hard to believe. The team was up 45 basically the entire fourth quarter. And at that point, basically anyone could have played. So Fenbo Zhang should be interesting. He's a guy that I think has a ton of upside. Guy who dominated in the CBA. So China knows him well. He grew up there. He's Chinese born and he played in the CBA. So Chinese Basketball Association. So he should be fun to watch as the hometown guy. And hopefully the DNP in game one was giving him time to rest up. And hopefully he shows out. For the people of China, for the Brooklyn Nets, maybe Joe Tsai recruits some Chinese people to become Brooklyn Nets fans. And I think that's the ultimate goal of this road trip for Adam Silver, for the NBA. To expand the game globally, get more international talent. Because look, that's where the talent pool is these days. You want to go international. Why were the 3 of the Nets 5 picks international? That's where the biggest talent's at. Not saying that's where the best players are, but that's probably in 2025 where you're getting, the freak athletes and the guys who defy all laws of what it means to be human. Key to victory, not that it really matters, but I'd love to see a win in the scorebook nonetheless. Keep the turnovers to a minimum. Jordi Fernandez mentioned this in his press conference. It got sloppy down the stretch against Hapoel Jerusalem. They weren't able to take advantage of it well because they're not an NBA level team. And that's no shade thrown to them. It's just the truth. Hopefully they're able to clean that up. But again, those are the guys whose minutes are most important. Tariq Whitehead, 7 minutes. And the least significant 7 minutes of the game last Saturday. EJ Liddell looked terrible. Let's be honest here. I don't mean to sugarcoat it, but I talked about this in my takeaways against the Hapoel Jerusalem video. Tariq Whitehead looked like a tree. The guy didn't move. Off-ball action was like a foreign concept to him. He was pitching a tent in the corner and waiting for the ball to be passed to him, like the other guys don't have a roster spot to prove. You can't just sit in the corner, Tariq Whitehead. Gosh, he needs to make an impact. Let me just be quite frank. Tyrese Martin is going to steal that guy's job if Tariq Whitehead continues to be a ghost this preseason. He hasn't earned his right to be on the team. We can keep going with this he hasn't gotten his fair shot narrative. But now's his shot. And as Hamilton says, you can't throw away your shot. And that's exactly what Tariq Whitehead is doing right now. He's got to turn it around. I get it's 7 minutes of one game. This may be an overreaction. Hopefully it is. Hopefully I wake up tomorrow, I'm in school. Holy crap, Tariq Whitehead. Double digits in the first 12 minutes of action on the court, and he's shooting 79% from the field. I'd love that, but gosh, you got to prove it to me, Tariq Whitehead. I can't just keep sitting here and defend yourself to the Nets fan base. My back's up against the wall at this point, man. Let's go. Prove it or lose it, Tariq. Let's go to China and have these international people impressed. Smash a like and hit subscribe if you're in the building. Throw questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. We take a quick break. Hear a word from today's sponsor. Jump right back into it. When we come back, all of your questions, comments, thoughts, reactions, predictions for the Suns game. It's preseason game number 2 tomorrow morning. Let's hit it. We'll be right back on the show.
You are listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show with your host, Connor Long. If you're enjoying the show, drop us a sub and leave a like. It helps more Nets fans find us. Quick break, then back to talking Brooklyn Nets basketball.
Today's episode of the Brooklyn Boys Show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Shoreline Sports Cards, located at 137 Main Street in Port Washington, New York. Whether you're chasing the newest hobby boxes, grabbing singles, or just want to talk cards with fellow collectors, Shoreline is the spot. They've got a massive selection across basketball, football, baseball, and more, with new inventory hitting the shelves every single week. If you're local, make sure to stop by the shop at 137 Main Street in Port Washington and check it out for yourself. If you're not in the area, no worries at all. You can still keep up with Shoreline by following them on Instagram, eBay, and whatnot for product drops, live breaks, deals, and hobby updates. All links are right in the description down below. Huge thanks to Shoreline Sports Cards for supporting the show and the Brooklyn Nets community.
You are listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show live on YouTube. Smash a like and hit subscribe. Follow the Instagram if you haven't done so yet. 105 followers, on the road to 1,000, so we can get up and running with some live streams there. The handle is in the chat, so while you're in the chat, while you're getting away, enter your questions, your comments, your thoughts. Right after you hit like and subscribe, go over there, follow us on the Instagram. It helps a ton. You guys are the best. Let's get into your questions, your comments, your thoughts. Claude Smith says, too bad Yegor Gelman won't be traded for Kuman Malawach. I was a big proponent of Malawach in the draft. I thought Gelman was a major reach, and I wanted Malawach. I wanted Malawach and to trade Claxton. That would have been my dream scenario for the Brooklyn Nets, and maybe trade right back up into the lottery as part of that Claxton trade. I mean, 7'1" center with that kind of wingspan and that kind of shot blocking ability doesn't just grow on trees. So I would have loved Malawach, but at this point, Claude, never in your wildest dreams, despite what Sean Marks thinks about. I don't think that's one of them, but come to it, who's really going to run the point for this team? So again, this Yegor Gelman pick has grown on me. If you haven't seen it yet, check out the Yegor Gelman rookie year prediction video I put out with Spen Harris, host of Spenny and the Nets, who's restarting his channel after a little mental health break for him. So shout out Spen. Check out his stuff if you haven't yet. Fellow Nets content creator. You're the best, Spen, if you're watching this. But check out his stuff, and we had an awesome conversation about Yegor Gelman in this year and how we both originally didn't like the pick. It's grown on me. It's grown on him. And at the end of the day, there's nothing you can reverse about it now, so you just got to lean into it a little bit. A premium should have been placed on durability after the draft, or during the draft, excuse me. Drake Powell would not have been drafted if that was a priority. Look, I think this Nets team's looking in the future, Claude, so I'm going to have to disagree with you here. Why does it matter if this guy's not going to play Summer League of his rookie year? That's not the deal breaker to me. You saw how good of defense Drake Powell played at UNC, and this is a guy who you draft the sparkling name Yegor Gelman with the highest pick. You draft the upside guys in Danny Wolf, and you get your big man there. But I think Drake Powell has a chance to be the most consistent guy to come out of this class. And, to say that durability being the A-plus premium that this Nets team was looking for, they're not looking to contend this year, and they're not looking to contend within the next 3 years. So maybe if you're looking at another Derek Whitehead situation, you can pay me to buy into that. So you're right in that sense. But if he's missing his first summer league and he's back for the preseason of year one, that's hard for me to hop on board with that. That's just not something I can complain about, if I'm being frank with you guys. I hope Cam Thomas does some sightseeing while in China. He might want to play there when he becomes an unrestricted free agent. This chat has no chill on Cam Thomas. Like I can't wait. I don't know where you guys stand on Nets Twitter and Nets social media stuff, but I'm always scrolling and I'm always getting a pulse on the Nets community. I remember when Dorian Finney-Smith got traded winter of last year, and then he went to the Lakers and he hopped on a podcast and he said something along the lines of, "Oh, it's great to not be on a little brother team in a market that's dominated by another team." Like, okay, buddy. Yeah, sure. Like, keep disrespecting us. So, us Nets fans have heard the little brother mentality enough. I guess, Claude, you're right in the sense that we deserve to unleash our anger on somebody. Hopefully Josiah unleashes his anger on Sean Marks sooner or later. Or just blames it on everyone else in the organization. Runs through 6 head coaches with the guy, but can't figure out that he's the problem. I mean, that's... Writing is on the wall, Mr. Sai, but for some reason you bat a blind eye to it. Claude also says, I'm anxious to see how Kuman Malawach of the Suns play. The guy Marks passed on to draft Yegor. There's a lot of guys that Marks passed on to take Yegor. But yes, I mean, Malawach was that guy for me. He was that guy. Noah Senge was Connor's guy. And look, I kind of... we were both watching the draft together. Neither of us liked the pick, and the immediate reaction was fire Sean Marks, but I don't want to. It's October 9th, Claude. We've waited 4-5 months at this point to watch actual basketball, and we're 2 weeks away from it. I feel like complaining about who we passed up on the draft. There's so many better things to be doing right now. I would have loved Malawach, believe me. That's a guy who I was campaigning for, you could say. Basically, all spring long, and then you come down to it, and the Nets reach on a guy that they potentially could have gotten after the lottery, and it was so frustrating, man. It was so frustrating. Last one, this draft will be a personification of Sean Marks' genius or his folly. Couldn't have said it better. Sean Marks has his career riding on this draft. Maybe also the 26th draft. The Nets have given the guy a ton of leeway, so I wouldn't be surprised, if this is another situation where they probably stretch the rubber band past where it should go. Sean Marks has a pretty long leash with this Nets team. But at some point, it's going to recoil right back to you, slap you in the face, and you realize that the GM was the problem the entire time. So Sean Marks has his career riding on this year's draft, and the 26th draft. Like I've been saying, hopefully we get to a point where the Nets have the first overall pick, and it's a no-brainer decision who Sean Marks could pick, and I can make the pick from my chair at home. Like a Victor Wembanyama or Cooper Flagg or Paolo Banchero draft, when you just have a guy that stands out from the pack and is such a generational talent. And I think AJ DeBansta could have the potential to be that guy. We'll see how he plays at BYU this season. We'll see how the Boozer boys play at Duke this season. We'll see how Dylan Pedersen plays this season. But there could be the next guy. The next bona fide all-NBA guy down the line. And hopefully that's where the Nets go. So, no, I'm not going to be rooting night in and night out for this Nets team. Miss this 3. We need to lose this. It's going to hurt the tank. We can't win a game. That's not going to be me. I'm a fan where I like to see my team win. And let's be real here. At this point where the NBA is at, how much does losing... You're at a point in the NBA where how much does losing 10 games actually help you? Like, the difference between losing 10 games and losing 29, you probably have the same odds at the number 1 pick, depending on how the rest of the pack settles out. It might be more like the difference between losing 0 and losing 20 or so games, but still, the bottom 3 teams all have that 14.5% chance to win the lottery. So at the end of the day, the Nets don't need to be the worst team the NBA has ever seen to have the odds that they need at the number 1 pick. You got to be bottom 3. You have to be a bottom 3 team in the league this year. But again, that is proven year in and year out that as much as I hate the lottery system, you can be good and win the lottery. The Hawks got Risa Shea. They were fine that year. The Mavs played postseason play-in basketball. They got Flagg. So, man. What an adventure this season's going to be. What an adventure. I'll leave it at that. Smash a like and hit subscribe. You guys are legends. Tuning in October 9th to the Brooklyn Boys Show. Like, subscribe, share. It all helps so much. It is free. It helps us grow way more than you would ever think. So if you would take 3 seconds out of your day right now, I'll promote it one last time. Hit like, hit subscribe. It helps us a ton. You guys are the best. I'm Josh Williver for the Brooklyn Boys Show, saying good night. Have a good one. See you tomorrow afternoon to break down this game. 8 a.m. in Macao, China. Let's go Nets, baby. Preseason game number 2. We will see you tomorrow, baby. Woo!